Welcome, Viggo Mortensen. Well, thank you very much for coming, I guess all the way from Madrid.
Yep.
And, you know, I saw this, I think, 90% of it for the third time tonight. And it sort of changes as you watch it again and again. And, you know, it always felt like a movie that was talking about today's America, but it says different things now than it said when I first saw it in July, I think.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I like to be positive, so I call it a post-election hangover antidote. At least it gives you something to think about, some hope for independent thinking, I suppose. You don't have to go live in the middle of the woods. And people take it lots of different ways. I was really glad that people were showing the movie in this theater. With the director, as I was telling you backstage, we've done many, I think literally hundreds of Q&As around the world since we first showed the movie almost a year ago at Sundance for the first time. And the audience engagement with the story is, you know, almost unanimously been positive. It's been, you know, passionate. It's been heartfelt. But it's true that since the elections, there's been, you know, it used to be it was sort of maybe 60-40, 60 like, oh, my family, my community, parenting, or some personal passionate reaction to the movie, and then 40%, maybe less. Well, it's about our times, isn't it, in some way? But that balance has kind of shifted completely the other way since the election. I do think it's one of those movies that, and I felt this for a long time, it's one of those movies that will be remembered as very much of its time. Issues that are, I mean, just the issue of not communicating well, or thinking you have all the answers no matter what your politics or ideology is, whether in this story or the grandfather or my character or my sister or anyone. You know, there's nobody, and it's one of the strengths of the screenplay. It's one of the best scripts I've read in a long time, that there are really no villains in the story, and there are no out-and-out heroes either. You know, it's a complicated, very human story. People really engage with it, but you're right. It's not a message movie, really, but it does speak to the benefits of communicating, being flexible, and especially of listening to points of view that are different than your own.
Yeah, I mean, it is very, very sort of even-handed and nuanced, and sort of, say, the portrayal of your character, who, you know, we sympathize with him. We think, at certain times, we think it's great what he's doing. And at other times, but the movie doesn't try to make him into a hero. I mean, at other times you think, what the hell is this guy doing?
Right, at the start, depending on what your particular life experience is, at the start of the movie, you might go, wow, it's amazing, look at these guys. I feel like a lazy slug every day. It's boot camp, you know, 7 days a week. In everything, literature, philosophy, mathematics, science, martial arts, rock climbing, what have you. And then, like you say, then you suddenly start seeing certain things that they do, or that the father has them do, certain ways of answering sensitive questions, you know. And you start thinking, well, is this guy the greatest guy in the world, or is he a menace to his own kids, menace to society? And there are a lot of surprises. I felt that even when I was reading the script. I read it, I thought, okay, I know where this is going. I guess it's a liberal idea. I mean, a family model that's left wing, and the enemy or the obstacles are going to be conservative ideas and conservative people. And that's okay. I mean, it's a limited scope as far as its appeal, but so far it's really well written, and I like these characters. Let's see where they go. And then I was constantly surprised that it wasn't the way I thought it was, or that, you know, my character went too far or said this, or someone else said something else. I was like, oh, that's awkward, that's uncomfortable, you know. And I felt that even as I was reading. I obviously feel that when I watch it. I mean, one of the things that's unusual about this movie is not only that it's a good script, but that the movie's every bit as good as that script I read. It doesn't always happen, and you're always looking, you're hoping to find, or they come to you as an actor, or I suppose as a director if you're not a screenwriter like this director is. Stories that you feel are original, you have a chance to tell a special story with. But it's rare that a great story becomes a great movie. I don't know why that is. It's just, I suppose it's because there's a lot that can go wrong in any shoot, especially this one like this. It's an independent movie. A lot of characters, a lot of kids who have limited working hours. You know, we had to move from location to location every day. You're shooting outside. A lot of things can go wrong on a relatively low-budget movie like this. Very ambitious undertaking. So I think, and then any really good movie is only as good as the compromise that the team makes. It's not going to be just because the director is gung ho and has a great idea. He has to convince other people to get on board, and he has to listen to other people. He has to be, when you're dealing with kids, you're going to get surprises. So know how to use that. Be prepared. And I've not seen a director better prepared and more open to his crew and to his cast than Matt Robson. He just was smart about the way he, I guess, used us or collaborated with us, made us feel part of the adventure.
Well, you've said to me in the past that there are times when you'll read a script and you'll say to the director, I think this would be a great movie, but I'm not right for it, but I want to see it. What, in this case, made you think, I think this could be a great movie, and I think I'm right for it?
Well, even if I feel I'm right, there's always an element of fear, because as soon as you say okay, and they say okay, and then it's finance, and you have to do it. And there's always something about it that's daunting. That's what you say. But that's normal. I've gotten used to that fear, and then my way of overcoming it is just digging in and trying to answer as many questions as I can, turning over every stone before I start. In the case, when I read this story, I knew some surface things that I understood. I know that part of the country where we live, where you see us in the beginning, the Northwest. I'm comfortable in the outdoors, but I guess the main reason I liked it was that, I mean, type-wise, age-wise, I was right for it, obviously, when I say surface things, but there was something about the challenge of the emotional journey that he has, which is subtle. And the way Matt spoke about it the first time we met, how he saw that happening, not just for my character, but other characters as well. It seemed like he was going to take good care of that. And he certainly did, you know, just the smallest reactions from the kids, moments that the grandmother has, or Frank Langella has. You know, I knew the way he was talking about shooting this movie that he was going to take care of the subtleties, and that the transitions that my character has to make, you know, when, like anybody, even the best intentioned person, pride can get in the way, you know. I think to some degree that's what happens with this character, and I like that about him. It makes him human, that, you know, when you've invested that much time as a parent, even if you don't spend literally 100% of your time and energy like this parent does, if you really are there with your kids and you sacrifice for them to some degree or another, when they turn around, usually when they're adolescents, but sometimes earlier, and tell you to go, and don't seem grateful, I guess, for whatever you're giving them, or how much time you're giving them, how much you're giving up for them. That can be frustrating and annoying, but a lot of that has to do with pride. It's not just, oh, that's unfair. It's really pride, it's ego, you know. And I think that as smart and open-minded and good about exploring new ideas as Ken is, and tries to encourage his kids to be, you know, to form their own ideas, to be able to defend those ideas, to be open to changing those ideas. When push comes to shove, there's moments where he's not flexible. And I like that, and I like the fact that when he's suddenly, and I think he's probably the last one to realize it, the audience knows it, the kids know it, the grandparents know that he's on the wrong track in some important areas. He finally realizes it is devastating, because he has given everything. So he's extra devastated, and you know, his pride, I think, takes a big hit, his ego. And then I like figuring out it's not something that happens all at once, but there's a transition there that I liked. And for those reasons, I like the challenge, and I didn't have doubts about it. Then you want to, like I said, you want to be up to the challenge and contribute. I was also, when I first met Matt, I said, you know, it's really a good script. I mean, I know how hard it is to write a script that's this layered, and kids' characters, especially adolescent girls, you don't see that so often. Where, I mean, first of all, the movie's the impulse for the journey, you know, the road trip is the mother, the presence of the mother, even if she's not there, she has a strong presence all times. And then the sister, played by Catherine Hahn, is her grandmother, but the adolescent girls are very independent thinking. They're not the usual teenage girls you see in movies a lot of times, where their very existence is predicated on their acceptance or not feeling accepted by a boy, or, you know, often things like that. And in this case, I mean, just very well laid out. But I said, as good as the script is, unless you find 6 real geniuses to play these young characters, it's going to be hard to make a movie as good as this script. And so I was kind of worried, you know, about that a little bit. And then he included me in the last auditions, the finalists for each of the 6 parts, and which was great. It helped me get my feet wet. It also allowed Matt to see what I might do with these different kids. And I saw that all these kids, I mean, any one of those kids would have been great. And I immediately, I guess, got off the high horse. I didn't realize I was on. I said, well, these kids are really good. I better get busy, you know, pay attention to your own preparation, and they're going to be fine. You've got some work to do to catch up. So, no, that's great.
Yeah, but don't you know you're not supposed to work with children and animals?
I've heard that, but you know, I really like it. I do understand that for actors who are used to preparing the roles meticulously, I mean, I like to prepare everything meticulously and think about it. But I mean, in terms of literally what they're going to do and say, every gesture, every emotional nuance, when they're used to preparing things to the nth degree and expecting others to adapt to them, when there are actors, or some very fine, you know, award-winning actors who I've worked with who do work this way, and when you adjust to them, it's maybe slightly less fun than if you have someone there's more give and take. But you're also marveling at their technical ability. It's like, wow, every take, it's like on that word, that tear rolls out of the left eye, or, you know, whatever, or there's that great gesture, or that seemingly impromptu laugh. I mean, it's just incredible. And it's great, but it doesn't leave you, you're just a spectator, almost, you know. Which is okay, because I think the best acting, the foundation is good reacting anyway. So if they're giving you lots of stuff to react to, that's fine. But I think that actors who enjoy the give and take and surprises, I don't think they mind working with kids or animals, you know, who are going to surprise you. And, I do like to play. I like to prepare a lot, you know, just because you get nervous, you want to be up to the standard of everyone else. You want to contribute to the storytelling. But once I get there, let's see what happens, you know. I like that. So if you're that way, I don't think it bothers you. If you're very, I guess, anal about your preparation and how you go about it, then a kid might be irritating sometimes.
You must have had a lot of prep with the kids just to get to the point where it seems like a family that goes through these crazy drills every morning. And what was that like?
That was good. And that was something that Matt asked for, and that the producers, you know, readily seem to accede to. It's obviously a cost. And in a movie, if you get together a couple weeks beforehand, it's the lodging, and it's the parents, and the kids are kids, and you know, all that. But it was the smartest thing we could have done, because not only did we work for a couple of weeks straight, every day, long days, and all these activities that you see us do together, the rock climbing, the martial arts, and you know, lots of things that we prepared and didn't do on film, or that didn't make it into the movie. Played music every day, rock climb, martial arts, woodcraft, I mean, being in the woods, and getting around. The 2 adolescent girls and redheads. We went to a farm, learned how to butcher and skin sheep, so they could do the deer scene. The word "oh deer" killed their movie, just a word that looks very real. And the deer we're carrying, and that they then skinned, was a roadkill deer given to us by the state of Washington, wild fishing game, or maybe the state troopers. They said, well, we have one, and we asked to be on the list, and we got it. So he's going to be.
There's a waiting list for roadkill deer?
Well, not a waiting list, but, well, in wintertime, I know this because I once, unfortunately, I used to live in northern Idaho, a place not unlike what you see in a movie. And one time this can happen, I hit a moose with my pickup truck. It was a young moose, but it still weighed almost 900 pounds. And it just came off a steep hill in the middle of the night. But it just ran right in front. I couldn't do anything about it. And fortunately I had a snow plow, and so it bounced over the top and didn't, as they often do, didn't go through the windshield and, you know, decapitated. This happens to lots of people. It happens every year in Maine and, you know, places in Idaho and Montana it happens. And because it was winter, you know, and I called it in right away, they said, okay, well good. It went to the food pantry, the meat was used. In other words, summer it's less likely. So I guess waiting list, maybe for labs in the summer, I don't know, but the meat was pretty ripe by the time it happened. And it was warm, it was very warm, it was July, so, yeah.
Right. So you didn't have a lot of time to film all those scenes out in the woods, did you?
No, we didn't. And and to finish, I mean, the group thing was great, you know, because we got not only to do all those things together, so it seemed like whether it was meditation or yoga or the martial arts or music, all these things. Music in particular is great because it's a non-verbal, great way to get to know people's rhythms and the way they work. You know, it was an acting exercise, and we got. But the main benefit of it was that we got very close. You know, which is what you were referring to. By the end of those 2 weeks, we were on very good terms. I knew what each of the names was, characters and real life, and I knew what each of their parents' names. I mean, it was good. And it got to the point where I think by the first day of shooting, the youngest one was calling me Summer Dad. When I heard that, I saw the good parents. I said, "Is that all right with you guys?" You go, "Yeah, it's fine." And so, you know, we were a tight unit by the time we started shooting. It was important because, you know, as you pointed out, we didn't have a lot of time. All the stuff you see, the teepee stuff with the deer, everything around that area, we shot in the first week. It was a lot of work, and it was important that we connect right away. Because we weren't going to get a lot of takes. And, you know, the kids had some complicated things to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's the scene where they learn what happened to their mother.
Yeah, that was, I think we did that like the 3rd or 4th day. Which, when I saw that on the schedule, I thought, oh my God, well, better to get it over with, but it's going to be a real test, you know. We'll see. And I said to Matt, what's your plan? He said, I think they're going to be all right. Let's just hope for it. Let's just see what happens. He goes, you got any suggestions? I said, no. I said, that sounds like a good plan. I'll do my best. And I think they will too. And they were marvelous, of course. And we did the first take, and the reactions were already so good that that after that first take, I looked at Matt and I was like, it's good. It's a good transition. We're going to be fine. It's a great team.
So, obviously things like that are logistical challenges because you're working on an indie budget, but creatively for you as an actor, what were the big challenges playing this guy?
Well, I mean, I referred to his emotional journey, some of the transitions he has to make. I didn't want to like overdo it. It would be, depending on who was directing this movie and who was playing the role of father, it could have gone too far into easy comedy or too far into easy, you know, sucking up to the audience, emotional things. I think it was just, the balance was right. It felt like what Matt was going for. And I wanted to be helpful in that way. I wanted to do those things right, to have the humor be true situational comedy, be out of the contrasts between us and other people, or the level, the intellectual level of the kids, or the fact that, and it's one of the things that are, it's funny in the movie, but it's also kind of maybe worrying, his way of answering difficult questions about sex, death, and mental illness. You know, I'm thinking about the scene in the bus where everybody's a little depressed, and then one of the girls asks about Lolita, and you know, there's conversations with the youngest boy over here is where we're talking about rape, and you know, all this stuff. And the comment where he asks what's rape and what's sexual intercourse, and you know, the vaginas, and then where she pees. And
why would he do that?
And what's very funny in the movie, and I think in principle it's a great idea to be very honest with your kids. It's a matter of degree, you know. The fact is that Ben, my character, speaks exactly, gives the same answer to the 7-year-old as he would to a 17-year-old. He doesn't modify his language. And I do think that maybe one lesson that Ben will have learned by the end of the story is that you can modify, you don't have to lie, but you can just feather it a little bit. With a little kid, maybe he won't, I don't know. But it's not the worst thing in the world, but yeah, I like that aspect of it.
Well, I talked to Matt about this film, and he said when you got involved, he realized that he had to be a more extreme character, the father character.
Oh, yeah?
I mean, do you understand what he was talking about there?
What do you think he meant?
I think we need to bring in Matt and ask him.
He had to be more extreme, he said?
Yeah.
As opposed to...
I don't know, I mean, I didn't read the original script, so I don't know how different...
No, the script didn't really change. Maybe it was attitude, like the single-mindedness. I mean, I think that's where the humor comes from the movie, too, that he's completely serious about everything he's saying to them. And that's why it's funny. You know, when I watch it at different times, when I see it, I'll laugh at the way that they interact with each other, this family, about things that, you know, we wouldn't speak to each other that necessarily. We might, but that's what's funny to me, is that they're dead serious about all this stuff. And I think that if you played it for laughs, it wouldn't be as funny, it wouldn't stay with you. Maybe that's part of what he meant by extreme, I don't know. Physicality, I think that the movie, I mean, it was written that we were doing, I wasn't crazy about it, to be honest with you, but the rock climbing, I'm glad we did that in one day.
So do you feel like, well, the kids are doing it, I gotta do it?
Yeah, I did, absolutely, that's what I was thinking. So they were like, how you doing? He goes, this is great. They come and stare, it's great. Except he goes, okay, Viggo, now we're rolling. Now you're going to have to actually look down and rally in and say these things, and you just hang out a little more. And I'm like, how's that? They go, that looks a little awkward. Lunchtime, they're like, so everybody come on down, you know. All the kids are like, you know. Viggo, come on down, it's lunch, we only got, you know, half hour. I said, just send a sandwich up on a roll. But it's true, I mean, I watched that one. They were game for everything. It was just, it was so fun. And I have to say that not so long ago, our movie was nominated by our guild, the Screen Actors Guild, for Best Ensemble. And I'm going to say, the emails I got from all those kids were just crazy. Really. It's going to be, whatever happens, it's going to be a party. We're going to have a lot of fun together.
Yeah. But before I open it up to the audience, I do have one more question for you, which is, I know that at least once, and maybe more than once, at the end of a shoot, you have actually bought the horse that you rode during the film.
I didn't buy the bus.
That was my question.
Well, and it still happened. You know, the bus was offered to the director, and he thought seriously about it, but he lives in a small, in a house in Berkeley, California. I don't think the street parking is complicated. So, and having to move, Tuesday, Wednesday, in the yard. it's still there, he can still change his mind, I think, because we've used it. It's been fun. Our official U.S. premiere was in Los Angeles in July, and we showed up on the bus. Yeah, which was.
I've seen it there a couple times, because that's like a block from my house. That bus has been there for a couple screenings, I think.
That was fun. I think they were very, a little too trusting in me, I thought. It had been a long time since I'd driven it, and I think the crew was already nervous about that during the shoot. So, but the guys who were in charge of the bus and the distributor said, "Oh, Viggo will drive it," and they'll all show up at the red carpet with the bus. And so I'm driving, the bus driver's there, and I'm trying to watch him what he's doing, trying to remember all the stuff. And we're going down Sunset, traffic time, rush hour traffic. And he says, "Okay, take over." And I'm like, "Okay, but isn't the theater quite a ways away?" "Yeah, it's about 8, 9 blocks." So I was just going like that, trying not to, I think I took out one branch on a tree with a mirrors, but I was like, by the time I got there, I was drenched in sweat. Make sure I'm going to cross the red carpet. But no, it's great. So it's still there. We've shown up different places with it.
Yeah. Go right here.
My husband and I have enjoyed your work immensely over the years.
Thank you.
You were the most intense and wonderful thing we've ever seen. It was an enormous performance. We watched you everywhere. We loved it. In this, one of the things that I really appreciated, at the end, there's almost no dialogue for those last scenes, and it made it much more powerful. And I am wondering, particularly the silence around the table, where you're just looking at them, they're eating your breakfast, and I'm wondering how you came into that. Did it feel like it was the right thing to do? And what did you feel was crucial for you to convey during that silence?
The question, if you couldn't hear in the back, is about the scenes at the end that have so much silence and how you came to that.
I love that it ends that way. Every once in a great while, someone has a bone to pick with that choice that the director made, and it was in the script. It's not like something that we just decided not to talk when we were supposed to dialogue. It was written that way, and in fact, I think that the first cut of the movie, it went on a little bit longer. And there was a little bit more coverage of kids, and we just kept it very simple. And it's not the normal way to end. I mean, I was talking to Steve about this backstage too. There's another movie that has a very different meaning, The Silence. It's also a family, it's also a table. It's dinner, not breakfast. It's night, not day. It's sad, not hopeful, but that's history of violence when that movie ends. But it's also very silent, all around the table. But there's something equally surprising about it, and it's satisfying to me. I like that Kind of Fantastic ends the way it does. And I think it makes sense, as the story unfolds, that there's a certain acceptance, there's, at least for the moment, there's a new balance that's been found within this family model, not just by the father, but by everyone. Everyone's found their footing in a new situation, and I think to some degree, without being, as I said before, a message story, it speaks to the value of being open-minded, being flexible, knowing when you have to modify the way that you behave as a parent, or the way you are in any relationship. And I loved it for that. And I think the people that are, when I've asked, "Well, why don't you like it?" "Well, it just seemed too easy." I go, "It's easy." I never have gotten a good answer from the very few people who didn't like that. And I think when you don't get what you're expecting, even if you don't know what you're expecting, but you see, "Well, that's not what I expected." Most people seem to like that, but some people don't like to be surprised so much. Maybe yeah, no, it was very nice. And it was the last thing we did. Yeah, so that was great.
So, did you start growing that beard when you got the job, or was that fake?
No, it was all real, and I did start growing it. Yeah, I looked like a mountain man for quite a while. It took a while to grow.
Yeah, right here.
Hi.
I'd like to know, my name's Jackie Devereaux, I'm a writer.
Hi,
And
Jack.
I'd like to know, regarding the script, it's kind of a two-part question. How do you know that a script is well-written? And how do you know that the script, that the role is for you? How many pages does it take you to get into a script and go, that's for me?
So in the back, the question was, how do you know when a script is well written, and how many pages does it take to you to say, this is right for me?
Good question. Good question. I think in part, it has to do with time and experience. You know, I've been making a living, not all the time, but most of the last 35 years I've been making a living as an actor. And in that time I've read, I don't know, many thousands of scripts. I read fast, I like to read. I'm also a publisher, so I have that reading a lot. I like to read. And I'm always curious. I'm always, when I go to a movie theater or a play, in a concert, and I think most audiences are this way, when they go to the movie theater, they want it to be good. They open a novel, they want it to work. You know, I think most human beings are that way. And I think that any movie has a good 10-15 minutes grace period. Even, you know, someone like David Cronenberg, who often his movies, you know, the first 10 minutes you're like, what's going on? Are these people real people? What the hell? And then all of a sudden you don't even realize what happened that you're in. You know? Some movies don't work. 20 minutes go by, you know, but I am also optimistic in the sense that even if I know the movie's really not going to be good, it's never going to write itself. I like to see what happens. There's always something worth seeing. But in terms of, it's just time. I've read a lot of scripts, so I kind of have a very specific answer as to why that experience allows you to understand if a script is better or not. But for me, it's when I'm reading a script, I'm looking, okay, what's the initial premise, or where does it seem to be headed? Does it surprise me at all? By the end of it, does it seem well structured? Does it seem like the person knew how to end it, or just knew they had to end it? That was the page count. That often happens. I would say that it's no different this year than it was 35 years ago when I read my first screenplay. In the sense that most of what you read is not good, even from page one. It's hard to write good dialogue. It's hard to come up with a creative way of telling a story. I mean, somebody said once that there's nothing new in art. There's no, and I guess you could say there's no new story in movie storytelling, but there's talent. And so, what do you do? I mean, there are elements that are fantastic that maybe people have seen in other movies, but how are these things put together? What is this, like the structure of this script? It's really well structured, it's surprising. There are many characters, it's a very ambitious undertaking, and it holds up, it keeps holding up. And as you're reading, so like I said, most of them are not good from the start. I tend to read them through anyway, see what happens. And then some are very good, and then they get to a certain point, and you know it's going to be difficult for this writer to meet the promise of what they set out for themselves, you know, the challenge. And most times they don't make it. You know, they just don't know how to end it. I think it's very difficult. How to resolve the story. And it's rare that you have one this well written and that it ends up, you know. That was the first question, best I could answer. And the second one, what was it?
How
do I know
far
when
into
I-
a story do you realize this is for me?
Well, I'm not always right about that. I mean, as you pointed out, there's a lot of times where I'll read it and I'll go, yeah, I'm not sure. You know, it's a pretty good story, but I don't think I'm the right guy for it, and I'll say that to a director. Now, every once in a while, a director who's really thinks that you're right for it can make you realize that you're not right. I would say a case in point was David Cronenberg, again, for A Dangerous Method. He wanted me to play Freud at that age, you know, younger than what we normally think of him. first meets you and all that. And I read his script, so it's a really good script. But I think I'm not the right guy for this, David. Really not. But he was insistent on it. And obviously he hadn't steered me along with History of Violence or Eastern Promises. So. But then once I started researching Freud more and realized what his sense, understood his sense of humor, and I really enjoyed playing that character in a way that I wouldn't have learned that side. I mean, it was most characters that I've been given to play, at least in the movies, are not nearly as verbal as I am tonight. And in this case, in the case of that character, it was a character who everything he does, his offense, his defense, everything he does is with words, and that's who he is. That's how he defines himself. That's how he interacts with others, almost exclusively with words. He's very sort of doesn't move around a lot. Anyway, but so you don't always know. I guess when I'm reading it, what I've learned is that there's always going to be a certain amount of fear. If I get to, I start to like the story, and it's a pretty good character. It's a big challenge, though. And if I finish it, I go, wow, yeah, I want to see the movie, but I'm not quite sure. It does worry me. But I know that if I like the character, I could see where I could be right for it. But I don't know if I dare do it. Then I know I probably should do it. I guess, because it just means that's something I'm going to have to learn, something I have to get over. Even with Captain Fantastic, that was the case. I thought, oh, this is beautiful. There's so many things that I understand and I could do, I think, if I prepare this properly, physically, mentally, and all that. And if we're lucky with the kids, as I said. But there are certain things about his emotional transitions and the way he relates to each of the kids and the grandparents and all that. I don't know if I'm quite that flexible or something, And, so that was the challenge there. But I knew that was a good fear.
Hand in the back.
What was the most surprising lesson you learned from playing Ben?
What?
What was the most surprising lesson you learned?
The most surprising lesson I learned from playing Ben? Go slow to go fast, which is a lesson I've learned other times, but I always forget it, I guess. What I mean by that is, taking Matt's example, the director, working with a script that's this ambitious, which many scenes involve many characters, and often quite a few small, young kids. As I say, not having a lot of takes, not having to move from location to location almost on a daily basis. There was a lot of pressure, but Matt did that thing that only really gifted leaders can do, which was to instill in us the idea that it was play, that it was fun, and the illusion that we had all the time in the world. I knew that we didn't, but he was very convincing. I knew that inside he was a good actor. Matt's a very good actor. I knew that inside he was probably dying, especially towards the end of the day. I said, oh my God, we still got those close-ups with the little ones. And, the sun's going down, but he was just always like, okay, let's have some fun, let's do this. And he was very methodical about it. He never said, come on, let's go. There's no yelling, which I find is unusual on movie sets. But I'm always glad when that happens, David Cronenberg was that way, and Matt Ross. There are some others I've worked with who are very calm. Peter Weir, one of my first experiences, movie Witness. It was the first movie I was in that I wasn't cut out of, other than a student. It was back in '84, and that was a very calm set. It was very much like Matt. People were talented technicians and actors and well prepared, no shouting. Everybody was polite to each other, and they had fun, and it was all great. I thought, wow, great business. I'm in. Then it took me like 20 more years to come across a set like that. But Matt's set was very much that way. So he seemed to be going, everything was going very slowly. It's like, okay, here's Charlie, Get them down from the tree. Let's do this and ask the tree to put her clothes on, and nobody kind of, oh wow, Kingman's not freaking out, but he didn't, And I got used to working that way with them as well. It's the same, like if anybody's worked with horses or training animals, dogs. It doesn't help to be stressed out and yelling and insistent. You really have to kind of adapt, and by doing each thing well, one job at a time, each job hopefully a success, you'll go a lot faster. So go slow to go fast. I guess is the big lesson, honestly.
Okay. A couple more here.
You mentioned that you're also a publisher, which I didn't know. So what is it that led you from acting to publishing? Like, is there something that you get as an artist out of publishing literature rather than the performance of literature?
What led me to publishing from acting? Even before I imagined trying to be an actor, I always liked to write stories. And like I said, I always liked to read. What I like most about movies is that they're stories, The best movies are great stories. So I was already writing and doing poetry readings and things like that long before anybody knew me as an actor. And documenting things in other ways too, photography and so forth. So it wasn't something that was a total left turn for me. At a certain point, I started making a little bit of money. I knew I could start this company, and it was an extension of the same impulse that you have when, let's say, you hear a really good record, you read a really good book, and you give it to your friends, and you say, I read this great, you'd love to read this book, or I'd like to share this with you, or you should go see this exhibition. It's that idea, it's finding stories that I like, artists that I like that deserve to be seen, that I'd like to share with my friends, and by extension, strangers as well. And I also like, in some cases, we've published people that ought to be known better, or who've been published but not in the way they should have been, that sort of thing. So that was, I guess, the impulse. It's a lot like it is with a friend. Let's say a friend's having a relationship problem or a job problem, and they have a difficult choice to make. They're in a dilemma of some kind personally, and they'll come to you as a friend, or you do the same. There's somebody, there's usually one or two people you might talk to share something. Please don't tell anyone. What do you think I should do about this? And sometimes they can help you. They'll just guide you in a way. They'll have an objectivity that you can't have. And I feel that way. I think the best movie directors are that way as well, in terms of guiding actors, helping them realize what it is they want to do, rather than telling them what they have to do. Those are the good ones, I think. And I like that exercise as a publisher, because it's a lot easier to edit someone else's work or help suggest a reading or a running order, choice of images, language choices, what have you, even the design of the book or the record or whatever you're publishing. I enjoy that aspect of helping someone get their idea across, their vision.
Let's do one more.
No, sure, anybody.
The hand that's waving over there.
I'm from Watertown, New York.
Uh-oh.
And
Where I went to high school, Watertown, New York, except on the Canadian border. No sidewalks.
your mother and my mother.
Oh, your mom. I should say go Cavaliers. Immaculate Heart Central in Watertown.
Your mother and my mother were cousins. My maiden name is Logan. And I'm
Wow.
very proud to say I'm a very, very distant relative. And I love her.
Nice to meet you. You live here?
We live in Chicago. I have several of your books that your mother, they gave. We have many dinners with Dave Gray
Oh, wow.
in
In Clayton?
Clayton, yeah,
Oh.
in White House.
And what are you on, holiday here, or?
Well, we have a home out here, so we're going to But
Nice.
gave me tons of books that she forced you to sign.
Have you been to the Palm Springs Film Festival before?
Yeah, we've been out here
Go
for
regular?
4 years.
Oh, great.
Watching you from afar, bragging about our distant relatives.
Oh, well, yeah, we were here, well, there was some years ago, I guess you were here already, David Cronenberg was on it here.
Right.
That was one of the big blunders for me. It was like, I guess it was like the gala thing they had last night. Isn't it in a big, almost like a hangar, airplane hangar?
A very, very large room, yeah, the biggest room in Palm Springs, I think.
And David had said, will you come down and present this thing to me, this honor? I said, what does it entail? He goes, well, you go up and you present me, and I go up and I give a speech. And he goes, well, yeah, whatever. And so they told me that it should be no more than 2 or 3 minutes. I'm like, okay, and yeah, instead of just going up there and saying a few things about David, which would have been just easy and pleasurable, I like tortured myself for, like a week. And I wrote this discourse on comparing him to Carl Dreyer. But as soon as I got in there and I had this thing, it was all written, I was going to read this thing. And I realized that all these people, most people seem to be kind of drunk and eating steak, and it was very, in a healthy way. I mean, very irreverent, very loud, very big, very surreal. And I was, sweating bullets over this speech I'd written. I was thinking, and I practiced reading it, and I could get it in just under 3 minutes if I didn't pause too much. And then I realized I should just talk for about like 15 seconds. Nobody's listening, they're eating or something. And I said to David, I think I made a big mistake. He goes, you'll be fine. Which is what he always says. He's kind of a weird secret, but it'll be fine. Okay. So he's like eating his steak, he's fine. I'm like not eating, I'm just looking at this. That was a big mistake. I went up there, sure, nobody listened. There was one guy from Danish, a journalist, who wrote for some, I don't know if you were there, I hope you weren't there for that, but who wrote for a Christian publication in Denmark. I don't know what he was doing here, but Carl Dreyer is a great Danish director. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you see 1928, Passion of Joan of Arc, fantastic silent movie. The Criterion version with the new score is gorgeous movie. Anyway, so I was comparing David to this great director. It was like the wrong place for this, and it went on. But this one director came up, and when I went off the stage, people were just like, they knew when he talked to me. I was like, God damn. And then I gave David his thing, and it was this weird looking trophy. It was very big, lots of loose ends to it. That's the same, yeah. It's beautiful in one, but it's abstract. And so we went out afterwards, and yeah, it was fun afterwards, but that was terrifying. But this Danish journalist was very engaged by the thing, the religious themes in my speech. I said, religious themes in my speech? Yes. And he wanted, I never ended up following up. He wanted to do sort of an extended thing. I shouldn't have, I didn't know what he meant by the religious themes. Anyway, sorry to go off on that. Very nice to meet you. Go ahead.
We were at your mother's house when you were in Canada filming, I think, Eastern Promises.
Probably History of Violence.
Or History of
Was it
Violence.
like 2004 or 5?
Later than that, because you called while we were there.
I might have been doing something like the post, like the sound stuff or something. Probably some problems with it. Like 2007,
Oh,
8, something.
yeah.
Well, I think unfortunately we...
How about one more?
All right, one more.
I'm game. What am I doing? Well, to be honest with you, this has been a full-on year. It's a full-on Captain Fantastic year. I mean, I'm very grateful that they showed the movie here. It's a movie that, as I say, was first shown almost a year ago at Sundance. And it's not a movie, we don't have the kind of budget that other productions do in terms of being able to force our way into the proverbial year-end conversation about what are the best movies and so forth, and the best directors, best screenplays. But fortunately, it's been such good word of mouth, and it's helped, obviously, that Matt and I have traveled so much and done so many Q&As, so that's been pretty full on, and then I've had a lot of family matters to attend to, so I don't have another movie lined up. I have been writing. I've written a couple of screenplays, and I'm trying to get one of them made. I'd like to direct it if I can, but other than that, I don't tend to plan that much. You know, when people say, well, what directors do you want to work with? What role do you want to play, or what genre? I don't really think in those terms. If you're just paying attention, something tends to show up, or you tend to read something, even if they're not thinking of you. If you like the part, you can convince them, and sometimes it happens. I do believe that, I believe in luck, and I believe that things come your way. But I think you have to be really prepared for it. You have to be ready for those breaks, or for that good script to come along. And if you're prepared for it, it means you can recognize that it's coming your way. Oh, that's a good story. If you're sort of not focused or lazy about the way you sort of leaf through a script or look for work, you're not going to see the unusual thing always. So just keep an open mind, that's what I do. But I don't have any specific plans other than that.
Okay.
Very excellent.
You talked about the low indie budget. What was the budget of this movie? And
I'd be lying if I could tell you exactly. I don't know. Well, we qualify for the Independent Spirit Awards, and I know that you can't have it. It
Can't be over 20 million.
Oh, I thought it was 10.
No, it's 20 now.
Oh, well, we're way.
Okay, so under 10.
It's less than 10.
All right. Well, I'm sure that we all hope that this Palm Springs experience was a little less painful than the first one.
No, the other one was fun too, mostly in retrospect. But this was great, and you've been a great audience. Thank you for staying.